Standard 4 covers resources and materials, including the presentations, text, videos, and examples that you give your students. And it covers both the materials that are inside your course shell and also resources that you link to externally. Now, the principle of alignment applied to resources and materials is that your resources and learning materials should support the course and unit level learning outcomes. So in other words, don't expect somebody to learn something unless you provide them with the materials that they need to learn it. Learning materials should be current. For example, in this section of the OIO, the videos that we're presenting and the steps that we ask you to do in completing the Prep Your Course tasks are based on the latest version of Desire to Learn. If we had put together materials from a previous version of Desire to Learn, then the steps wouldn't match, and this would cause confusion. Balance refers to if there's any controversy or differing viewpoints in your subject area, you want to present a blend of learning materials that present a balanced viewpoint. So for example, once again, in these OIO videos, I've tried to show you different ways of meeting each standard rather than just telling you, this is how I do it, you should do the same thing that I do. You should tell the student how to use the learning materials. So an example of that is back in the handy tips section. I went ahead and gave you some advice on how you could use these walkthrough videos in completing the task. Another example is in my CIS 122 course, where each of the learning materials that I have in the module starts out with a description of what the learning material is about and how to use it. So for example, the reading materials, what I'm asking you to learn from the reading materials, the demo programs, how to use the demo programs, the fact that you would want to look at the code and use them to model your code for Lab 1. I've explained how to use the homeworks and how to use them to complete the lab. The actual lab itself with information both on completing the lab and also things like how to debug your program when you run into issues, and my posting requirements. So letting the student know not only the resources that you're giving them, but how the resources fit in and how they can be used to master the learning outcomes is an important part of Standard 4. When you use materials from other sources, you should always be sure to cite them in your course shell. And you should also clearly explain the difference between required and optional materials. This puts the responsibility for learning back in the hands of the student so that they can make the decision as to whether they want to spend additional time following topics that they're interested in, or whether their load is too high this term.